Okay, everyone, it is Wednesday morning, April 1st, 2020. Have a two-part episode for you this morning. I'm going to start with just a very quick overview of a change in the PPE documentation that we've done, and then I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Gill, MD8, to go over a new product. So obviously, I'm going to put the interesting part at the end and let you suffer through my quick adjustment here with the workflow in the records. This change we're going to talk about came as a request from the district chiefs, and it was a good suggestion that makes the records more obvious as to what's going on with the PPE. So I'm going to start this record and pretend that this is an engine crew or a transport assist or whatever. It'll all be there, but say you turn it over to an HFD unit. When you're in the PPE section, you'll notice this has now changed a little bit up here. So first, there's some notes that remind you how to document the PPE. So one, we want you to document all the PPE worn. We define what close contact is, and that's within the 6 feet for 6 minutes, or if you have direct contact with secretions or excretions from the patient. And then any breach of that PPE. So like always, you're going to want to add the All Crew button, and that will pop up a box for each member. Now, you've seen this box, the gloves, the mask, the eye protection, and you can click what you wore. But sometimes if all you wore, for instance, was gloves and eye protection, it's not real clear from the narrative if this individual member was within the 6-foot bubble or not. And so that's what this supplementary question is down here. And this was the addition that the district chiefs had as a great idea that we're happy to enable. Did this member have close contact as defined as above? Now, if they didn't enter the 6-foot bubble, I'm clicking no. And when I read this record, then this doesn't bother me, right? So we'll save that, and that'll be it for him. Now, let's say Mr. Blank is the one that actually took care of the patient. He would do gloves, mask, eye protection, and there were no nebs, there was no CPR or anything, and he was in close contact because he was, let's say, the primary caregiver. And so that's appropriate as well. We'll click OK. The problem would come is if someone picked, say, gloves and eye protection but no mask, and then hit yes as close contact. We would then, when we saw this record, be concerned about that after the fact. But at least in the cases where gloves and eye protection are the only thing chosen, if you check off no here, then we wouldn't be worried about it. The last box is the what happens if there was a breach. This just gives you a lot of different choices to go through and talk about specific ways of which you might have come into body fluid contact, respiratory secretion contact, or any actual injury. This is an optional question. You can fill that in as it happens. Both of these top two questions, though, are mandatory. So that is our change for this record, and I will now turn you over to Dr. Gill. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Dr. Joe Gill, MD8, one of the Assistant Medical Directors for the Houston Fire Department. The medical directors and EMS command staff are constantly looking for ways to increase the safety of our field personnel. Amidst the current COVID-19 pandemic, airway procedures have become increasingly risky to perform. Today we will be discussing inline airway filters, which will soon be available for use in the field. These filters have the ability to significantly reduce the transmission of pathogens when ventilating patients. When available, the filters should be utilized when ventilating a patient as soon as possible. The filters consist of plastic encasing a HEPA filter. They come in several colors such as yellow, blue, or clear. They're all the exact same and can be used interchangeably. It is important to have the filter placed before the first ventilation is applied to the patient in order to have the maximal risk reduction for the field crew. Also of note, the supervisors will be exchanging on a one-for-one basis to continue the supply in the field. These filters have the ability to be attached to both a bag valve mask, an eye gel, as well as an endotracheal tube. The important part is that it goes directly to whatever piece is directly connected to the patient, whether it be an eye gel or a bag valve mask. Fits together as so. And then directly to the back valve mask. Once the ALS unit gets there, for end tidal, say this is already connected to the iGel. In order to connect the end tidal, all you have to do is connect this piece and then to the back valve mask again. Remembering that the HEPA filter goes directly to whatever is directly ventilating the patient, whether it be the mask, the iGel, or an endotracheal tube. When available, try to use the airway filter when ventilating patients, including any patients in cardiac arrest. Attempt to avoid any unnecessary wastage of these filters, as the global supply chain remains limited at this time. Remember, as always, the most important piece of protection you have is still your PPE. For cardiac arrest, this will include the maximum PPE set, including eye protection, an N95 mask, gloves, and a gown. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or any of the other medical directors. Thank you for your time.